everyone, and welcome to Super Respectable, episode 50.
50.
50. My name is Toshio Rahman, and with me is David Lewis. Hey, Dave.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well, Tosh. How are you?
Good. 50, huh? That's crazy. Actually, just the other day, you know how Facebook will automatically reminds you of things that have happened in your past. it reminded me of one of the
Good or
episodes
bad?
like a year ago. So yeah, 50 episodes. We're almost there. Two more and then 1 year.
And that's it.
That's it. Anyways,
No.
how's life on the beach? You're still stuck out there?
Yeah, no one's come to get me yet, but that's cool. Still surviving off the coconuts. And it's my Zoom background, people, who are just listening to the audio. It must be a bit strange.
No, yeah.
And yeah, and how's everything with you and your background with the board games there? That seems kind of fun.
I've been isolated. I've been just doing this. This is a part of my topic today, so that's why I did it.
Oh,
But
okay.
my real background is not as friendly. It's not as appealing. But I'm good. Life is good. It's almost October. It's my little one is almost 3 months. He's growing there, but he's learning to talk now. I mean, cooing and having lots of conversations. Very, very
Oh,
interesting.
yeah?
Yeah, like you just have to interact with him and then he'll keep going too, and he's starting to grab things. So that's fun. Yeah, my brother-in-law and my sister have been visiting us. It's been about 2 weeks, and he's English, so we're getting to learn a lot about like English culture and like some of the interesting things, and so that's been fun. And then yeah, like everyone's doing well on our end. Your family?
What are yeah, everyone's fine. I'm looking forward to eventually heading back to Canada to visit and see family. It's been some time. Same thing with the UK family over in England and Wales.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh, when would be a good time to go? It's hard now that I've started working and MBAing again, but I think with the new Corona situation, work from home, people are kind of flexible around these things. So I could always work from various locations.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
What's happening with the Corona situation where you are? Are you?
They've got rid of, eliminated all the rules as of October
It's a free for all.
11th or 10th or something like that.
Yeah.
So officially, you can go back to the office and there's no distancing or anything like that. There's still mask wearing on public transport, but having taken the train a lot more recently, people aren't really following even that basic rule.
Okay.
So once again, I think that most visitors from highly civilized countries like Canada would be quite shocked by what they would see here in terms of COVID compliance.
Wow, I've heard that as well. I was talking to a family member in Australia, and they said they're really screwing up with COVID there too. They just try to like shut everything down, but numbers are going, no rules in place, like very unstructured, you know. So yeah, but I don't think any country in the world has really nailed it, right? A lot of these countries that I was reading that had low COVID numbers earlier in the summer are starting to peak again, right? Like Israel's going back up as well. So like, I think we're kind of in a fourth wave globally, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah, I think possibly in some cases the cases and deaths have been somewhat decoupled because of the vaccination. So you may be able to still get coronavirus, but your symptoms are a lot less severe than they would have been a year ago.
Yeah.
But from what I know, like in the US, it's pretty bad. Alberta is really bad.
Yeah.
So I guess it's places where pockets of the population have refused to get the vaccine, and
Would have thought.
that's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, here we have a vaccine passport that's been implemented a couple weeks back or a week back, and that's fine with us as well. We just we have it on our phones and we show it when we enter a place. So I don't mind like wearing masks and keeping distance and sanitizing. I have a little one, like I said, so we have to be extra cautious as well. But we still have people who protest it, and it's their right to. But yeah, I'm hoping we can get closer to the end of it. But the numbers have started spiking where I live as well, so we will be extra cautious for it. I've heard about somebody, a family member, not a family member, a family member's family, extended family getting COVID with 2 vaccine shots too. They said that like the symptoms weren't too much, not bad, but they had to, isolate from the rest of their family. So it's still possible, and I'm just super extra cautious about it. So I don't know. It's
But you're not wiping down the groceries
uh,
anymore, are you?
I I do still spray the groceries. No, 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 obviously not the fruits and vegetables. No, no, no. I just wash those before I eat them. But like if I buy anything packaged, we give it a spray before we put it into our pantry or our cupboard. That's just
Hmm.
a habit for us. And then also we like, for example, if we go in and out, we'll also sanitize or wash our hands when we come back. My sister flew back international, so she came home and she sanitized and like took a shower and made sure her bag was clean and stuff. We can't take risks in our house just because it's like too many people can get sick, and especially for international travel, I think it's a little different than going to the grocery store because you're going through so many checkpoints. So we're trying to do the best that we can, but we've relaxed a little bit on certain areas. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind the mask, like I said. I mean, at this point, it's like I went to the cinema for the first time after 2 years last week, and I was wearing the mask. It was weird. I was wearing the mask the entire movie. I didn't really notice it, but it was definitely like strange. It wasn't like the
Hard to
normal.
have the popcorn.
Yeah. And then yeah, so it's like it's kind of getting back to normal on certain things, but yeah, I'm happy for the vaccine, the process here. So at least I know that if I enter a cafe or a restaurant, that everyone else has shown their certificate as well, in theory. But then we went to the mall on the weekend and nobody was asking for anything at any store. So then I was like, come on, you guys. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. We'll keep trying. We keep pushing it forward.
Did you watch Dune?
No, it's not out here yet.
Oh,
Is it out where you are?
it is.
Did you see
I
it?
believe so. Uh, no, I have the book, so I'm planning to read the book before seeing it,
Yeah,
but
so
I'll try and
I'm
hold off.
I'm a quarter through the book. At this speed, I might be done next year.
Okay.
But I'm also trying to read it, and my brother-in-law is also reading it, but he's a super fast reader, so he's like halfway through, but he's read it before, so that's very exciting as well. That's something to look forward to. I will finish the book before I watch the movie, so that's my promise to all you listeners. So
Very nice.
it's nice, but yeah, shall we commence? It's my topic, my week, my show.
Let's do it.
So I chose the theme of board games for this topic, and I don't know if you're a big board game guy. I only play one game that I'm really good at, and it's Monopoly because I can just crush everyone.
Ah, good choice.
Great
Love
in
Monopoly.
capitalism. But my sister and my brother-in-law brought some board games with them when they came. They're big board game people, so they taught us to play Settlers of Catan. I don't know if you play that or not.
Mm.
So they taught us, and so like, and they have brought a bunch of other games. One called Pandemic, ironically, and then Monopoly Deal. And so I was thinking, oh, it'd be fun is to kind of look at kind of the history of board games and see which the most popular ones are. Um, I played board games growing up. I don't know about you. I'm more of a card game person. Like I can do poker and like Texas Hold'em poker and blackjack and et cetera, et cetera. And so, so like,
You're playing a lot of blackjack as a 6-year-old.
I was playing a lot of blackjack, yeah. And so Monopoly I've done for a while. I think I played Life, Candy Life a little bit, but not too much. How's your experience been with board games?
Yeah, looking at your background, I recognize quite a few of them. Connect Four, Battleship, Sorry, I think Candyland. We had Candyland. We had a huge stack of board games at my parents' place, but I don't remember ever playing that one. It kind of freaked me out. It seems a bit weird.
It is weird.
But Monopoly is a great one. That's a like the gold standard.
Yeah.
But like as I got older, I never really got into some of the more adult like cult ones, like Settlers of Catan.
Yeah.
That was really popular and still is.
Yeah.
And what's the other one? Risk.
Dungeons and Dragons, Risks.
I can't remember. Dungeons and Dragons. But yeah, I was kind of more, I guess, solitary in what I was doing. I do a lot of like Lego and Playmobil and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm down with the board games. Yeah.
So
good.
They taught me Settlers of Catan, and I just didn't get into it. And so
Yeah.
I like, yeah, I didn't like. It wasn't my thing. My wife really got into it. She won the first game they played, so that's their thing. So I wasn't there. I know Dungeons and Dragons has a huge following, and I'd like to learn because it looks seems kind of fun and cool, but I don't really know anything about it. But I have learned that like there's like communities all over the world, and like there's different scenarios, and so yeah. I mean, that's have you done Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes.
Yes, and do you get it? Like, did it take a while to learn? I
I
don't.
honestly, I don't remember.
You don't
I don't
remember?
remember it at all. So probably not. But
Yeah,
I usually just, whenever there's a new game, there's
yeah,
always someone who wants to explain the rules,
yeah.
whereas like the rule freak, and I'll just be like, I'll just play the game and learn as we go along, and
Well,
make it up.
that's one of the things I have noticed is that games are getting more complex with rules and like, like the things I like very simple, straightforward games, checkers, chess, Monopoly, I find is very straightforward. But like there's all these other ones. And so like sometimes like even following along, yeah, you pick it up, but I feel like it's like a job taking like all these rules and keeping them in task. So I like simple, straightforward games. I didn't include video games in this topic. I know those are sort of counted towards games as well, but I had more board games. I actually don't play video games because I'm 36-year-old man, and
Oh,
I'm
it's played across the spectrum these
I'm
days.
I'm just joking. I know I read a statistic that says like 60% of adults play video games or men play video games. That's cool. I'm just not into it personally. I got other things to do. So I have an addictive nature. So like when I was young and I played them, I could sit on a sofa for like 8 hours and like play the game and forget that there was sunlight outside. So like I don't do it
I have
anymore.
the same problem. I mean, my big one is like playing FIFA or any of like the sports games. I
Uh,
could just keep playing that over and over and over and over again,
Endless.
and I get sucked into the game so much. And so I had to like delete everything off of my
Yeah,
devices.
now you don't do any games, right?
During the pandemic, I was playing this one on my iPad. This like it was kind of like a ripoff of FIFA, but it was great.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it now, I might download it again.
Yeah. Hey, I would say my favorite board game, I think the one that I have the most memories of growing up, other than Monopoly, is Clue. Did you ever play Clue? Like
Remind me?
it was like Colonel Sanders with the like it's a murder mystery game. And so you have to
Yeah,
find the killer, the weapon, and the location. It was a lot of fun. And then you could like act it out or have little like skits and stuff like that. So like I thought it was really like fun. I used to play with my friends and stuff. And I think one of my friends had actually a Clue-based birthday party or something. So we all came dressed as like a character. So I thought that was kind of fun. But did you ever play Clue?
I did. I think I played pretty much all of these games, but honestly, it's been so long that they kind of all blend into one in my head in terms
Yeah,
of what they are.
yeah. Yeah,
um,
no, I get that. Okay, so what I did was I know there's tons of them out there, as you mentioned. I Googled the five most profitable, like selling board games, and coincidentally, they also kind of coincide with the most popular. I guess that makes sense. If they're popular, they sell better.
Makes sense.
And
Yeah.
so I thought we could kind of go through them one by one and just kind of talk about our experiences, and I'll talk about how they started. So I'll go from five to one. Okay, the from the fifth
This is of board games.
of board games only. Let's clarify. I don't do video
Okay.
games. I don't do card games. This is board games. So number five, Scrabble. Scrabble
Oh, love Scrabble.
is the love is the lovey game where you put words together with the little pieces that you get and you do points. I think it's a pretty intellectual game, by the way. Like I think it's not just like a boring waste of time. I think you can really work on your vocab and your like analytical skills. Have you played Scrabble a lot? Like, have you had a lot of experience with it?
Yeah, I think that's probably the one I've played the most recently. And it's fun to play against non-English speakers because I always win. So
Yeah. I
that's
wonder.
good. It's good for my self-confidence.
Could you do Scrabble? I'm assuming there's Scrabbles in different languages, but could you do Scrabble using the English letters for another language? You
To a
could.
certain extent. I mean, not every alphabet is like the English alphabet,
Yeah,
so I don't know.
yeah.
I
So
mean, in Arabic, can you Latinize Arabic text? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, I've seen it done, but I think it's probably more authentic in its original uh, um, form. So
Yeah, how does that work? I mean, can you do Scrabble in like languages like Chinese and
these are great questions. Let's Google it. Uh, Oh, here we go. Editions of the word board Scrabble in different languages have differing letter dust distributions of the tiles because the frequency of each letter of the alphabet is different for every language. Ah, as a general rule, the rarer the letter, the more points it is worth. So it is possible in other languages too. And I'm sure
And
they've
there's some, yeah.
taken grammar into consideration and syntax as well. So that's cool.
Okay.
I have for me Scrabble has a good place in my heart because I hated when I was in high school and junior school. They used to make us do like English grammar and like learn these like really weird words that I've never even applied in my life before, like beyond the even intermediate English. And so like I really hated doing it that way. So friends and I, we would always play Scrabbles on the weekend just for fun. And that's how I got a lot of my more advanced vocabulary, which I don't
Hmm.
even use, but I mean, I thought it was a more fun, it was a funner, which is wrong, a more fun way
Oh,
to learn grammar. And I think I'll definitely like give that to like my kid as well. It's fun to learn through like a way that you don't even know you're learning as well. And I thought Scrabble was the had that little competitive edge while kind of growing your vocabulary as well.
yeah, I think that's a great one. It must be harder. I don't know what age is the right age to start playing Scrabble.
One, zero, no, joking.
0, yeah, just start them young. I don't know.
I mean,
12?
here's a little like a little question though, is that like I think board games in itself, there's like a competitive nature, either you against other players or you against the board. And I don't know how healthy that is to put into children at a very young age. I'm just asking openly. I'd rather them have fun and learn as opposed to like play to win, which I think can kind of be negative as well.
Well, I mean, just to play devil's advocate here, maybe it teaches them that, sorry, Johnny, you're not going to win everything in life. You're going to lose sometimes, and kids sometimes freak out. They'll like punch their brother or something if they keep losing,
Yeah,
and it's better to get that out of the system while they're young, and
yeah, the
instead of
punching
have be
or the anger.
all those things.
Yeah. Do you know the history of Scrabble? Interestingly enough,
I don't.
um, it was invented in 1931 by a New York architect, Alfred Butts, and he created the game. He created the game in an attempt to connect anagrams and crosswords, and he wanted something that had luck and chance and skill. And very funny because of his interest here. Butts also died at the age of 93 in 1993. So this is something that would have fit
Oh.
perfectly with Scrabble. When you play, what kind of like I don't know when the last time is what you play. Do you do hard words or do you go for common words? Do you do backwards? Like, what's your strategy for Scrabble?
My strategy is to use the like aim for the multipliers.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, triple word letter score, double word
Yeah,
score. Go for those, and you've won the game. Like, make obviously it helps to have the Z's or the W's and all those sort of high point things. If you can get your Z on a triple letter score, I mean, if you've already like light years ahead,
you're golden.
uh, it's hard. It's hard though.
Yeah, interesting. So Scrabble is up there. I think everywhere I go, I see Scrabble, which I like. I consider it more of one of the more intellectual games, and so like I think it's fun and it should keep going. So I can understand why it's popular. Number four is my favorite game, Monopoly. Monopoly. So before I talk about it, I actually was looking into how Monopoly started, and there's like a number of different theories. But the one, we see it as Parker's Brothers, which is the company. But apparently, what happened was in 1904, a woman named Lizzie Maggie, she she acquired a patent for a game called the Landlord's Game, which was sort of like rent and tenants and stuff. And then in that game you'd move around, you'd buy properties, you'd pay rent. And then about 20, 30 years later, a man named Charles Darrow, he took the game and he made a tweak to it, and then he ended up selling it to the Parker brothers in 1935, who kind of commercialized it. So I guess it comes from a real estate background. And there are it's just very cool monopolies in every city in the world, and they're custom, or not every city, but to any city or any place in the world, country. They're customized to like locations in
Mm.
that place. So I know we play probably the standard like standard one where it's like Park Place and St. Charles Place and this and that. And so like if you go to like I don't know, like let's say Bangkok or like China or wherever
They have one in The Hague.
in The Hague, it'll
There's
be
a
like
Hague
local
Monopoly.
places. It's really cool. And then like they even have like Star Wars Monopoly and like and like this movie Monopoly. So they added on, but I guess at the end of the day, the principles are the same. It's about buying property and bankrupting your opponents. But I love this game. I actually got better at it in like the last couple of years. I don't know why. Maybe greed has manifested itself in me, but I really enjoy it. I don't know what your experiences have been, but we used to play it all the time as kids.
I love it. I think that's up there. I mean, I can see why this list is the way it is. These are all popular for a reason. They're great games. Um, it's hard to say whether I like Scrabble more than Monopoly. I probably like Scrabble more in the sense that I win that more than Monopoly.
Yeah.
But Monopoly does teach you a lot as well. It is pretty intellectual. I mean,
I,
you know,
yeah.
do you have a particular strategy when you play the game?
I do. I become like I go into like full Donald Trump mode because it's just fun and I like doing it. My strategy is I just in my first couple of rounds I buy everything I land on as much as possible, and then because I'll even lose all my money buying stuff because it's not because I know I'll make more money because I know no one's gonna like the first 2 3 rounds are very rare that someone's gonna land on your property. So it's my like R&D phase, research and development. I tend to stay away from the last two. I forget what it's called, Park Place, the blue ones, Park Place, and the other one, because it's very hard. Even though on one fantastic game, I put like a hotel and like three or whatever, and I bankrupted my sister on it after like 9 hours of playing or something. But generally, I go for the lower. I just try to buy as much as I can, mostly in the first two streets or whatever you call them, and I try to build because I think a number of houses is really good. I'm not really interested in railroads, generally speaking, or utilities. Those are not really my things, but I'll try to buy as much as I can. I forgot that the yellow ones and the red ones. Statistically, a lot of people land on those as well. So like those are really good ones to buy.
Ah,
That's
oh, you
my
have some good information
my
on there.
strategy.
Um,
Yourself?
is the original Monopoly New York or London?
I think it's London. No?
I feel like it's London, right? They
Yeah.
seem like the more well-known, like
Yeah.
Piccadilly and
Yeah. It's St. James and yeah,
James.
I don't know. We'll have to Google it. We'll have to figure out where it was, but it has the real life locations and it has a sort of London English touch to it, doesn't it? I kind of feel like the Monopoly guys
Yeah,
speak
but then
English.
when you mention the names, I'm like, they're by Americans. I thought they would have done. Oh, here we go. The Wikipedia page, as usual, has it's patented 1904. Fantastic. They have the whole picture laid out there.
Oh,
Um, I
it
don't
could be a
know.
combo.
Bear with us, listeners.
Hold on.
Oh well.
Here we go. Here we go. Uh,
Any luck?
uh,
But this is interesting because now that I've lived in London,
yeah,
it's quite interesting to me because there's places like Whitechapel Road,
yeah,
Old Kent Road, Euston Road. Um, those were I guess rougher parts of London.
yeah.
But now that London's come up so much all over the place, it's all you know relatively fancy. But like Pall Mall and Whitehall and these places, they're all quite posh. Bond Street. It's interesting now that I've like lived there. When I was a kid, I'm like, what are these places?
Yeah,
Sort of
yeah.
made up
I
names. And
think
then I was
the
going
default
around.
Yeah, the default version of the game I play is probably it's probably it has like that and then also like some American things. So maybe it's a combo, maybe it's like a modified version. I don't know what
Hmm.
the original version was like, but I would have played it. Like I'll play any game of Monopoly, to be honest. I think it's amazing. And like but let me tell you though, like there are two negatives I find to Monopoly. Number one, sometimes these games can go for hours, man. Like it's not a quick game. I've had games go for like 2 3 4 hours and you have to like call it quits or take a break and come back because you're just waiting to like get that other person to land on your property.
Yeah, sometimes people just get bored and fed up, and then you can that's when you win. You just crush them because they've lost interest.
Yeah. I find I don't know. I found in my experience 4 people is the optimal number of people to play Monopoly. I know it says like up to 8 or whatever. I think if you have too many people, it's not fun because like you can't get your properties. But That. And then the second thing that I don't like about Monopoly is that like sometimes it really shows your worst, like your horrible side as a greedy monster. Like sometimes you can really get into it, and like you'll just like have a bunch of money. One thing we used to do when we were kids, and I kind of still do now, is I don't show all my money to all my fellow players. I'll like
Oh,
hide them, you know. So if they ever think I'm bankrupt, I'll be like, "Whoof." And then you'll have like a big argument over are you allowed to do that or not do that, and then like is it in the rules, is it not in the rules? But that orange 500 bill, man, if you can have a couple of those,
feels
party
good.
feels good. Do you did you play Monopoly as a kid, like with with your siblings, with cousins, with friends? Was it like a Friday
Yeah,
night?
yeah, we played it a fair amount. Um,
Which piece do you usually go
yeah.
for? What's your little token? Do you remember them?
Oh man, yeah, you're really scraping the barrel of my brain there for
Oh,
for
well,
information.
I usually go for the car. That's my thing. I mean, I'll go for any piece, but the car is my favorite.
I have to check out the images. Isn't it the ironing board? I think that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
And then there's a top hat.
yeah.
I like that one. And then there's a thimble. What was
Thimble,
called
yeah,
thimble? Yeah,
thimble,
those are cool.
yeah.
Um, oh man, maybe I'll play that. It's cool. I mean, maybe with the NBA, it'd be interesting to see like what the NBA cohort is like
Yeah.
playing the game.
I did. That's a very interesting thing. I mean, I wonder if it's different. You play it differently and you interpret it differently based on where you are in life and your experiences. Like when you're a kid, you're sort of like, oh, fun, a red property. And when you grow up, you're like, I need all three red properties. I need rent. I need houses, you know. Or if you're just like relaxed and stuff, I would teach it. I think you can teach it in both a capitalistic, like a really right wing capitalistic way, or a more liberal oriented moderate capitalism way. And I think you could teach your kids like about like greed if you really wanted to, both in a good and bad way. So the game definitely depends on like how it's taught. One thing I don't like about the game is I don't like being the banker. I don't know about you. I don't like being like the distributor in any game or like the record taker
No,
playing. So I usually just give it up, but I'll do it because it's not a problem for me. But it's not my favorite position, I think.
yeah, I think no, it's a great game that really brings out people's personalities. So that's what a good board game does,
There you
is
go.
it gets people emotions going.
There you go. All right. Game number three. Let's move to the third most popular best-selling game. It's backgammon. So backgammon
Ah,
is actually one of the oldest games in existence. I traced it back to about 5,000 years ago during Mesopotamia and the Persian part of the world. I actually admit I don't know how to play backgammon. Do you know?
we had a backgammon set at home,
Yeah.
but it intimidated me. I didn't. I think I asked my dad multiple times, but we never got around to playing it. I don't think it seems confusing.
Who in your house plays it? Is mom and dad?
Um, I don't think anybody played it from what I remember. It just
Oh,
sat there
really? You
gathering dust.
had it. Um, it seems like a very kind of even when I look at the board, I because I don't know how to play, it's very overwhelming to me. I'm like, how does this work? But I see it being played all the time. Like anytime sometimes I'll see like people on the street playing it. I've been to cafes around the world and people are playing it. I think it's very popular in certain countries such as like Turkey and Iraq and Iran, Egypt and Egypt as well. Do you know anything about like how it's supposed to work or how the game functions? It's two people,
Nothing.
right? Yeah. End of discussion. it's it's
No,
two people,
it's a
right? It's not,
two-person game.
yeah,
There's dice
yeah. And there's little arrows, right?
and there's some arrows.
Okay, there we go. Let's Google
But
this. Let's at least get it. Okay. The objective, okay. The objective of backgammon is to be the first to bear off, i.e., move all 15 checkers off the board. Oh, backgammon is a member of the tables family of games, one of the oldest classes of board games. Backgammon involves a combination of strategy and luck. Oh, I get it. So like you start all your pieces on one side and you're trying to get them off on the other side. So I think through your dice, you're starting to move them. I think you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually learn how to play backgammon because I think it looks really interesting. Like I've always wanted to learn, I just didn't do it. But
oh,
yeah.
there's a section on cheating. There's
Oh,
a That's very helpful. Tells you how to cheat in the game.
oh, you can cheat. What are your general thoughts in board games and cheating? Are you for it or against it, or are you accepting of it, or it's not a fair way to do it? regardless of game.
I mean, if you can get away with it, why not?
That's how many bad things in this world have been justified. But I
That that's
also, yeah, yeah,
that's like it's incumbent upon your competitors to watch out for these sort of nefarious activities, and if you can get away with it, then more power to you.
yeah, totally. I also,
I
when
don't
I play
actually believe.
board
I
games,
don't believe that.
yeah. I don't cheat, of course, but board games are supposed to be fun, right? So like like as like I think some people take them way too seriously, and they like get really competitive and angry when they lose and stuff. And I just take it easy, man. Like you're gonna like play, you can play another game. You're not losing money. It's not your life. Maybe you're not doing this competitively, so it's interesting. But I like the idea that you could play a game in an honest way and then like win and you'd be like a champion. I like first beginner's luck too. I like when people who come into the game the first time and they win and they screw everyone else over. I like how the other people feel afterwards. Like, take it,
Yeah,
suck it.
I I was like that with not a board game, but with pool
Yeah,
and with poker.
yeah.
So I barely knew the rules of poker, yet somehow I would win. And people were like, "How'd you do that?" And I would say, "I have no idea how I did that, but thanks very much."
I don't know. Yeah, pool is a lot of fun. There's a lot of strategy to it. I'm not really great at it, but I like playing it. And like, unfortunately, it's not like a board game, so it doesn't really fit into our categories. But it could
No,
be an extracurricular game, right? It also has a lot of strategy and analysis to it and logic to it as well, right?
because there's a thought process of how do you screw over your opponent with a
Angle,
shot. You don't want to just win and sink a ball, but you have to make sure that the
difficult
ball
for them,
doesn't roll into an advantageous position for them.
of course.
So
Yeah, yeah.
there we
And I
go.
think with poker, did you play like Texas Hold'em or like five card poker?
Texas Hold'em, I like
Yeah.
that one.
So even then, like I think that's more like, yeah, I think there's a bit of luck and a little bit of strategy, but more luck because you don't know which cards you're gonna get, right? And which ones you can fold in. But generally though, it's fun. Like we do it. I don't know. I didn't meet you yet, but in first year university, in the residence we lived in, I remember a bunch of us didn't go home for like spring break, right? And so everyone else went home and there was no school, but we were living in residence. So we thought, hey, you know what we should do is let's like just play poker and blackjack. Like let's set up our own little mini casino in one of the rooms. And so we and like we'll have like a dime, which is 10-cent buy-in or 5-cent buy-in. And at first it got like really like it was fun and addictive. Every night people were like coming to our casino room 3 4, and then spring break came back, was off, and people came back and people on our floor caught up to it. They're like, oh, this is really cool. And the more people that participated, we realized we weren't doing the finances properly because we were like paying out too much or paying like it didn't work out, you know. We had to close the place down because of
The house went broke.
the house went broke. We probably owed people like 50 cents each or this and that. And so like the
Oh
math
wow.
just was off, you know. We had multiple tables at one point or someone was dealing
That's
and
what
like
happens when the political science students take charge of these enterprises.
oh no, we had one table I remember or two. But yeah, it was a disaster. If this was a real casino, we'd be like criminals at this point. It'd be fraud.
Yeah, I mean, casinos aren't meant to go bankrupt. They're just supposed to like take everybody's money, right?
Yeah, I mean, we should do an episode on that. I think there's a whole science behind how like a function casinos function, but yeah, that's true. All right, should we move on? We're almost at number one, but number two and number one are very. I'm
Number
sure.
two.
You want to guess? I'm sure you'll.
So since backgammon is part of it, then I believe we're onto something that I didn't believe was part of this list. Checkers.
Correct. Oh, sorry, I should have clarified. Yeah, I know backgammon and checkers are sort of not the same as
They
board,
are board games.
but there's a board. They're
It's a
classified
board.
as board games. So checkers, which is a really fun game. Um, checkers actually, they say like they were trying to trace it back, and I think most people think that it's kind of come out of like the Asian subcontinent. But one thing is that in Iraq, there's a city called Ur, and they say that there's a good evidence of checkers coming out of there during Mesopotamia, and there's artifacts that have been carbon dated back to 3000 BC from there as well. And I think it's from that region that it spread to other parts of the world and to where it is now. I used to play checkers when I was a kid, and it was so much fun. I actually am ashamed to say I forgot the rules. I'll have to kind of refresh myself a little bit, but I remember the black pieces and the red pieces and the board as well, and being able to jump over things. Did you ever play checkers growing up?
Yeah, I played it a lot. It was fun.
Oh,
But now I think it's too easy.
too easy. But what's the objective? Walk us through someone who's never played checkers before. Like, how does it work? Yeah, very brief. You
Yeah, again, another challenge. It's basically like you have to hop over
yeah,
to capture the opponent's piece. You have to be able to jump over to a free piece on the other side of it,
yeah,
free square. I think diagonally,
yes,
or yeah, it has to be
yeah,
diagonally, not straight on.
yeah.
And then you can do multiple steals or
Jumps.
vanquishings of the opponent's piece if they're very poorly positioned. So you can go like 1, 2, 3, and take several in one move. Um, and then I think there's an extra benefit is if you reach the end of the opponent's
You double up, right?
side, you can double up, and then you can start attacking
Backwards or something like that.
backwards,
Yeah.
right?
I remember that you like become a queen. I know that's chess, but you become double and then you have an advantage over the other person. But is the objective to destroy all their pieces?
I think it's yeah, to take all the pieces of the opponent.
Oh, huh. It's cool. We used to play, I don't know who taught me, but I remember playing and it was so much fun. I think when you're young, you get to like move pieces and have them jump. It's kind of like a childish act, you know? So I really enjoyed that part of it, like the movements of the pieces and how straightforward it was. And so it's not a hard game to learn. I'm sure like if you sit
No,
down,
I think that's got to be one of the easier ones around
yeah.
to play.
But do you think you could play it like forever? Like, would you get bored of that game? Because right now, if you ask me, I feel like
Yeah,
it seems kind of boring, right?
yeah, I think it's not as intellectually stimulating as the other games we've talked about here,
Yeah.
but it's a good like stepping stone and entry point for a young kid to get into the world of board games and
Yeah.
maybe graduate onto the one that you possibly will be talking about next.
Yes.
Uh, yes.
And speaking of which, I think you've guessed it. There you go. Uh, Number one most popular and most profitable board game is chess.
Chess.
And this has been verified on every website I went to. It's a very global game. Hundreds of millions of people have played it. I actually have a very interesting experience with chess myself. You play as well, don't you? I think we played before, you and I.
I like chess. Yeah, big fan.
I like it too. I think interestingly, over the last year, I was reading that chess has made a resurgence because of that Netflix show, the
Queen's
Queen's
Gambit,
Gambit.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so a lot of people have gotten to it, which I think is great. So chess, do you care to guess where chess originated from?
Somewhere in the Middle East.
Close. So chess, like checkers, has actually kind of spread around the world. But the history that I read off was really cool. In the seventh century, in the Gupta Empire, which is in the
Oh,
Indian subcontinent, uh, um, uh, a prince actually created chess because his brother died in battle, and so he recreated how his brother died for his mother using these like pieces in this board as like a story because it's sort of like a military war scenario. And from there, it was moved to Persia, where they added where they kind of modified it and made it grow. They added the name chess because it's similar to the name Shah in Persian. And then there's a checkmate is similar to another phrase as well in Persian or Farsi, I guess. And then from there, it moved to the Arab world where they actually used it as well. They liked the idea that there was a human free will in the game as opposed to chance in other games. So there was an ability
yeah.
for you to take action, which I like as well. I'm not a big fan of all too many chances in games, but it did. It was moved to China as well. When I say move, I mean it also spread, sorry, to China, where it was modified and kind of used in their own societies as well. And then this is interesting. In 1000 AD in Europe, it grew significantly among different social classes, and the churches actually didn't like chess. So they in France, in fact, it was banned. They didn't like the class system. They didn't like that like people had the power. I think they didn't like that like peasants could take over kings and stuff. So I think the hierarchy was kind of
They were onto something.
onto something. There you go.
They were right to be afraid.
And then in the 15th century, it kind of took on the shape of what it is now. And so like chess is an amazing game. I learned it when I was just a kid, and like I remember being under 10 years old and learning it. And I wasn't great at it, and I wasn't horrible at it, but I knew there was a period in my life where I really got into it. And this is the cool thing is I actually taught a friend of mine how to play chess, and he went on to like compete in like chess competitions and stuff. So I felt like a mentor, like I
So
felt
who
like
taught you? Was it your dad or
it
something?
wasn't my parent. I'm trying to remember who taught me. I don't remember. Whoever it was, thank you though, because since then I've had it in my memory and I play it. I play against the computer sometimes when I'm bored. On easy, I don't go admit. Computers are too. I think it's. I think it's.
I go hard.
They can think like in like millions of scenarios in seconds. Apparently, like I read yesterday, I forgot the number off, but there's like 500 million different ways to play your first 10 moves or something crazy like this. So like no scenario could be repeated if you wanted it to. But it's definitely a wormhole like that you can go on into and never come out if you really got. It can be an addiction. Like I remember at one point, like chess was all I was doing, like growing up, like play, 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 play. And at that point, there was no computers. It was like against people or against like maybe the computer chess just started. But what's your experience been like with chess?
Yeah, I think my dad taught me, and
Yeah,
we played a lot,
yeah.
and he beat me every single time.
No mercy, face.
uh, no mercy, no mercy. But it was a good experience. I really think it's a great game. It's very the hardest part, and what I'm so impressed by, like Magnus Carlsen, the grand champion from Norway. Um, their brains, the way they work, like they have to be able to do advanced planning and think about the whole setup and back and forth between the opponents, like 6 7 8 moves ahead. If I move here, he can already like compute what the next like moves will be somehow. I don't
Yeah,
get that. Because he's kind of, there's these patterns, right? Like Queen's Gambit and these different things you can
yeah,
do. And you must just have them all memorized and just say, oh, that person I'm playing must be at a certain level.
yeah,
So therefore they're trying to do this thing. I counter it with this thing.
yeah.
And like, I'm definitely nowhere near that.
No,
So I'm sure if I entered some sort of basic tournament, I'd be crushed by everybody.
yeah,
But like, I can do like 1 2 level, maybe 3 levels in ahead.
yeah.
When these people are like 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 ahead, and
Totally.
that blows my mind.
But like
Um,
to give you some slack and like to make you feel better, like this is
Thank you.
their job, right? Like this is what they
It's our
do.
job,
So like just like you are an amazing whatever you do for business.
whatever I do.
These guys, this is their job, and they're playing 15,000 games a day, and they have trainers, and like this is all they know, and they've read every book. So it's like they have to be the best at their jobs to get to the point. But I also, have you ever had it like, you have a strategy and you're like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And then you're like 5 moves out, and then you're like working and that's all you're thinking about. And then they like destroy your strategy. And then you're like, oh crap, I got to start all over again. So like,
Yeah, I actually kind of like that. It's like I just get impressed. I don't get mad. I'm like, wow, that's
uh,
cool that you thought about that because you think you're doing so well, then you've exposed your queen or your king.
but on the other hand, when they don't pick up on your strategy and you put them into checkmate, you feel like a genius, right? Like you're on top of the world. Like you did something that no one else has ever done before. They didn't catch on
Yeah.
to your little ruse.
And my other thing that I like doing is a bit like the checkers thing is if you get your pawn to the end,
Yeah.
that can turn into a queen.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll forget about like the actual objective is to like get checkmate. And I just want to like try and get my pawns to reach the end, which is a fun game.
But
Um,
how often can you get a pond? I think people pick up on what you're trying to do pretty quickly, right? When you see a little guy just going to the other end of
yeah,
the
he's
board.
going right. You can do it, buddy.
But because it doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, you get a double queen. You're just like, this is awesome. But another thing is when they take your queen on any move, you feel like your heart's been
Oh,
broken, right? Like a dagger has gone through your
I
heart.
don't like it when people take my queen away.
Yeah. I like I had to learn all these little rules growing up. Like, like white gets two, like on your first move you get 2 spots, and then the queen and the rook can no, the king and the rook can switch
Oh,
and
castling.
the
Yeah.
canceling. And so like I should learn more. I would say my knowledge on chess, other like the advanced knowledge, is very minimal. I know how to play a game,
Oh,
and
and there's one called En Passant. Do you know that
what's
one?
no, what's that? Tell me. Like is this a move?
Yeah, it's going to be super hard to explain. It's about the positioning of the pawns.
Okay.
So I think it's about like if you've managed to align your pawn like neck and neck with another the opposition's pawn,
Yeah.
you can move it diagonally into an empty space and then take the opposition's pawn. But
Oh,
you can go past it.
yeah.
Whereas normally in chess you like go into it and take
Yeah,
the
yeah,
square.
yeah.
But this one allows you, because of the strange setup that you've found yourself in, it's a
Yeah.
peculiar situation, you're able to go over it and kind of do a checkers move on it.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and when I pull that off, people are like, that's nonsense. You're just making that up. And I'm not, I'm like, it's en passant. Look it up.
Pass on. What okay, let me ask you a couple questions. Do you usually go for the white pieces or the black pieces? This is not a racial
Oh,
question.
I don't discriminate.
You're
Whatever I
okay.
get, I'm happy and I can win either way.
What's your opening move most of the time? Like which pawn do you usually or
Oh,
horse?
yeah. I actually do have, I learned one strategy once and I've never changed. And so let's ruin
You
it
don't have to say
forever
it if you
now.
don't want to. There's
No, so I'll move the middle pawn two spots.
two spots out.
So what, there's two pawns where I guess are the middle ones, and so either one of those will go,
Yeah.
and then I'll start moving the horses
Yeah.
to protect.
Yeah.
Then I'll go with everything else, and
Yeah. So that's how you. What do you have a favorite piece in chess? Something that you like the most?
I mean the queen's really good, but that's too easy. I guess what's the is it rook? No,
Rooks are the ones that I think look like little castles, and then
what's the
like
diagonal? Bishops are diagonal.
knight, isn't it?
Hmm.
I think it's a knight, a bishop, and a rook, isn't it?
um,
Hold on.
yeah. Sorry, listeners. We're struggling here with the rules.
Okay,
We need a
here we
call-in
go.
show where someone can explain these things.
So the six different types of pieces are king, rook, which bishop, queen, knight, and pawn. So the knight is I made a mistake. The knight is the horse, the rook is the castle, and the bishop is the one that has a little like ace
Bishop
top line. Yeah, I like
is the diagonal one.
yeah,
I like the diagonal one. That's
I like
good.
that too. I I like the idea. But the problem, one of the problems in chess, and this is because I don't take advanced, like I just play for fun. I don't really do it for like learning. But like it takes so long to get your back team, your backbenchers, like the ones behind the pawns out, other than like, the horse or whatever, to come out. It takes you gotta take 2, 3 moves just to get those guys out and then play, and by that time the other side's already kind of brought their pieces out, right?
Yeah, I get annoyed if someone beats me when I've hadn't had a chance to get my
And
good
anything.
guys out.
Yeah.
So as a matter of principle, will try and just move those guys out of there just to feel good that I've got them going.
Yeah.
But yeah, it always feels bad if they got your queen pretty easily. You were careless and you weren't thinking properly.
Yeah.
You left her exposed. Never nice. Um, but yeah, I also like these big. I think the reason I like the castle and the diagonal one is that they can do big dramatic moves. They can just like
Yeah.
cross the entire board and go wham, take
Totally.
you out.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched the Queen's Gambit. Did you watch it?
Yeah, it was a great show.
It was great, but that's like a different level. You know what I mean? Like that's like full time. Like this is my life. I'm dreaming of chessboard pieces on the ceiling. Like I'm addicted to this game. I'm reading every book. I don't know if I'm that interested in the game. I like it more as just having fun and competing against someone else. And like, but I think there's an intellectual aspect to it. What do you think about this theory that you can learn about like war and like game theory and anything else other than the actual game itself through this game? Do you buy it or?
Yeah, I mean, there's life lessons that you can get out of it. Like it's kind of philosophical if you think like, you know, plan ahead.
Sure.
Look around you, take in your surroundings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just kind of trying to make up stuff as I go along now. But sometimes when I play the game, I'm like, little guy can help you out. Sometimes don't just rely on the big bully in the team. Your pawns can actually be supportive. It's not just you can't have a whole team
Yeah.
of queens. You
Yeah.
need a whole combination of skills and experiences to make your team
Yeah.
successful. So that's good in organizations, all sorts of different little things.
I like, so one thing, I never played at this level, but in the Queen's Gambit, and when you see people playing, there's always little clocks, and you hit it, and then you do your move, and then you hit it again. I
Yeah.
think it's timing how long it took you to make a move, right?
Yeah, that part I don't know. Is it like it times you how quick you beat someone, and that maybe adds to your score, or is there a limit to how long the game should be?
That's a great question. I don't know if there's a limit to it or not, but sometimes it takes people like these grandmasters like hours to make a single move. I had always thought that like when the other person moves, you hit it, so then it's on your move, and then when you finish your move, you hit it, so it records how long it took you to make a move. And I'm guessing at the end you can add all those numbers together to see how long you've played, how many minutes you've played into a game. So I like the idea that like you can take your time because I think that we're really rushed in the many things we do in our lives now to think about it because these grandmasters when they're like taking hours they're just strategizing every scenario. If I move here they'll do this, if I move here. So I think like I like that aspect, but at the other time like sometimes they take too long. Like sometimes like let's be logical, we don't have all day. So
But have
like
you ever seen these clips of like the guys who are playing 12 people at once? They just go
oh
around
my
tick, 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 tick,
gosh,
tick.
crazy. There's that, and their brains must be working like on like overload, overspeed. And there's have you seen 3D chess when they play on like three levels? It's not just
Oh,
you and me on one board. It's like you and me. There's like three boards, so it's like three games, and then it's like up and down too. So like people are playing on
no.
all these dimensions, and I wonder if their brains are just working on like overload on everything. But it's
Acid.
it's acid, man. That lady in Queen's Gambit, she played like 12 games at once, didn't she? Or like 10 games or
Yeah, but she was also using drugs, so maybe that's not advisable.
so the interesting so I had a question. So have you noticed that a lot of chess masters come out of Russia and like Eastern Europe and stuff like that?
Mm.
And like I wonder why that is. Like, do you think that's because of like nefarious reasons? Like that's all they do in like Eastern Soviet Union and they're pushed to, or do you think there's like a general interest?
Uh,
Like why Russia?
that's probably a good answer to that. I think the weird thing was during the Cold War, there were these epic battles, East versus West, like Gary Kasparov against, I don't know, various people from the UK and US.
Yeah.
They played in Iceland. They had these huge, huge games, which were like globally, like proxies for like, is the US or Soviet Union superior? So that was probably a big like prestige thing that they were trying to cultivate.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's
but
like
also like there's a lot of maths and science stuff being pushed in the Soviet Union too. Like there is a pretty strong math and science like curriculum, and maybe that's one aspect of intelligence. They thought if you're good at chess, then it's like a complementary skill to
yeah.
support your math skills. I don't know.
Yeah. Can you imagine if the Cold War was fought over like games of Monopoly instead of like
Yeah, maybe it's a good idea. Like have a special room in the UN to be like, okay, Israel, Palestine, let's sort this out. You have one like chessboard and it's equal, and just go play each other.
I like because I like the idea with that like the Arabs were saying, as I mentioned, that it's more of instead of chance it's more like free will, right? You kind of decide your fate because you're opening, whereas with other games you're picking up a card or rolling a dice and you don't know what's going to show up. So I definitely think it's one of those things where it's like you versus an opponent, and if you're ready and you're prepared you could win, and there's very little chance of something happening that like you just couldn't know what's happening, right? It's just like a competition. It's like any athletic endeavor, right? You practice as much as you can, you try to get better, and then you go up against someone else who's done the same, and then it's just whoever's the better person wins. So I think like watching chess with someone else at a level is great, but that's why I don't like computer chess. I think it's unfair because as smart as a human is, a computer can do something at a completely different level because they've been programmed to do it, right? So I think what was it when Deep Blue or like remember
It's
yeah
Kasparov and Deep Blue.
it's Deep Blue and who won? I forget. Deep Blue, right?
So Deep Blue won.
Yeah,
I think Kasparov maybe won one of the games.
yeah.
No,
But Deep Blue won the competition or something, right? The computer won, and
Deep
that was
Blue definitely won. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But don't you think that's unfair? That's like saying like, oh, let me run. Like, let me go up against a car and see who can do like 100 meters quicker. Like the car.
But I think it was like a good proving point that like computers are getting to a stage where like some things that were initially thought to be beyond the realm of computers
Computing.
were yeah computing was possible now,
Yeah,
and so it's kind of like a big leap forward for
if that was the
computing
intent,
power.
then congratulations, they've shown it and then stuff. But like, I don't think it's fair competition to go up against something that can do something that you can't even do, right? Like it can compute something in a second that you would take you a lifetime to do. So it's sort of unfair. And like, I don't know. I mean, I would even say like, oh, if you want to like, if you want to like, okay, say like you go like in the pool and you go up against a great white shark in terms of how fast someone could swim, like it's gonna beat you every single time, right? Because that's what it's built to do. But yeah, I like when it's like chess, or like people versus people in the championship. I think that's fair, and I think that's cool. And I think in the Queen's Gambit, she won against the Russian chess master, right, in the final game or whatever it was, and that was sort of like, that I thought,
Spoiler alert.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So like, yeah, I don't know, but I definitely think it's a great game. I'm going to teach my son how to play it. If he's really into it, then I'll definitely like support him. I don't want him to be like addicted to it. I think one of the problems with a lot of these games and video games and other things is like if you really get into it, it can become your life. I think it's that's unhealthy for sure. I think like
Yeah.
I would never want my child to do this full time. I just want this to be like a hobby because I can see the negative aspect of it.
Yeah, and you might get picked on if you're like known as the board game guy. I don't know,
Yeah.
but like rightly or wrongly, those kids were always thought of as slightly odd in high school or something as like
Yeah. Well,
the board
now
game society. But now it's cooler, right? A
it's
lot,
cool.
a lot of
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
On a side note, did you ever think about like going back to high school? Like not going back, but if you were
I've
in
never
high,
thought about that.
if you like, it must be so different to go to like high school and junior school now because like there are so many different facilities to for children. Like there's chess clubs, right? And then there's probably like board game clubs, and there's all these different hobbies to kind of get them through. So, like you said, I think like being a kid with unique hobbies is probably more acceptable now than it was when we were growing up. And I think like it could definitely be something more supportive, and you could probably find more people in common than you did when
Yeah, yeah. I mean, uh, someone like Magnus Carlsen, the chess dude, he's kind of like made it cool to be a chess grandmaster because he's this young guy, has this kind of rock star attitude in some ways,
where's he from?
and he's from Norway.
Yeah. Oh, he's cool. And he's like
Yeah.
just a kid. He's 30 years old. Number one in the world. Oh my
There's
God.
a funny thing also is in New York City and a few other cities, there are these like chess hustlers.
Yeah.
So they like just set up shop in some random parks in the city. I think there's like one main park where they're there, and anybody can come by and like test them.
Yeah.
And like being New York, they like talk trash to these people and say like, "I'll beat you, I'll crush you, you're nothing, you're nobody."
Yeah.
But there's been a few things where like Magnus Carlsen will show up and he'll be like in disguise and he'll say nothing and then like silently beat these people. So it's
Is
kind of cool to watch.
is there a financial gain from being number one? Can you make money from this, from being a grandma?
Yeah, I think like anything, if you're the top of your field, you can make a good amount of money. So he probably gets endorsements for I don't know what endorsements, maybe a watch company. You
Yeah,
can see
yeah, yeah.
his wrist a lot or something. Uh,
Intellectual endorsements, not like crap like all these other celebrities do, but like things that are about like time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's not much money in these intellectual things.
I actually, and speaking of people who play chess on the street, I have actually a memory in Ottawa. There's that bus stop next to the mall in downtown on Rideau Street, like where it's kind of sketchy. So do
Yeah,
you know the Starbucks and the Chapters on the corner?
yeah, yeah.
So there's
Super
a bus
spot.
stop, kind of a little like 2 minute walk down. I was waiting for the bus, and this guy who honestly didn't look like he knew how to play chess was just playing chess with anyone who would walk by, and you could kind of play with him. And he was really good. And I am sorry for judging him without because he had like dreads on, and he was kind of like baggy pants, and he kind of looked like he didn't know what he was doing, but he was playing and he was making moves very quickly. And I think he could have been playing one or two games at the same time or something, but you could tell his brain was working like at a different level. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, these guys are insane. They're crazy. And I think a lot of kind of cities, I don't know how it is in the Netherlands, but a lot of cities have a lot of countries have this culture of like in the summertime or in the spring, old men going outside to play in parks and having multiple games and sitting around, right?
Well, I was going to say it's actually become a bit of a thing in the last couple of months or so. There's a tournament happening down the street and this weekend, I think, and there's going to be a guy who's going to attempt to try and beat everybody who's like set up around, like I mentioned. So I might try and
Check it
play
out.
against these people. And there's someone now going around. Of course, it's on bike in the Netherlands. he'll like cycle around and set up shop in some of the parks and be like,
Come play me.
somebody want to play? Come play me.
Yeah.
And he says he's doing it for like world peace or something weird.
That's cool. Anyways,
Yeah.
those are the kind of the five I looked at. And there's some honorable mentions too. Like I said, I like Clue a lot, and that was fun. But I haven't played in like 30 years. So like I'll do. Yeah, I played a version of Monopoly yesterday called Monopoly Deal. It's like a card version of it. My sister and my brother-in-law were teaching me, so it doesn't have cash. I didn't like it as much. They and like yeah, but it's still fun if you want to do it. I definitely think in modern day there's so much crap you could waste your time with and like just throw away your life, especially when you're young now with video games, television screens. I think this is at least something that kind of lets you sit down with family and friends and kind of go more original and old school, but still kind of helps develop brain functionality and just kind of have fun. So I definitely would push this over anything on a screen at any point. But I hope at the end of the day, it's just balance for anyone who does it, right?
Yeah, that's the big challenge, I guess, these days is finding something compelling enough to get the kids off the screens and the adults.
And
Adults
the
are just as
adults.
guilty.
I think I'm guilty of this. I'm afraid like I think reading has started to decline globally as well. And even me, like I told you this, I got into reading really later in life. And I'm not like an avid reader, but I do read and I do like want it to be part of my life. But I really hope that as my son grows up, that like books are part of his life, these games with family and friends are part of his life, and just like all that crap that's on in front of a screen and TV and computer can be less part of his life. But it's hard to compete against any of that stuff, right? It's just it's a difficult phase, but I hope people are able to play any of these games that have been around. And if the indication of my research is correct, they will hopefully be around for longer, and I hope people get to enjoy them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tosh. That was very interesting, and it has me inspired to start building my Dutch board game collection.
There you go. Anyways, Dave, have a great rest of the day and rest of the week, and we'll see you for 51 soon.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Tosh.
See you, Dave.
Over and out.